Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast is raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic, discussing mental health from a play therapy specialization, including trends, treatment approaches and techniques, theory, and the business of psychotherapy practice. Get ready to learn and play with your host, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor, Althea T. Simpson.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chronicles of a Play Therapist. I am your host, Althea T. Simpson, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor. I am the owner of Brighter Day Therapeutic Solutions, a trauma-informed psychotherapy practice in Northern Virginia, and the owner of Unicorn Life Training, focusing on mental health training and play therapy training for mental health professionals. I am doing another episode of the business of psychotherapy practice. And today I just wanted to have a transparency moment with you all about mindset and emotions and how that can ruin your psychotherapy business if you don't put that in check. Psychotherapy practice as an entrepreneurial can be very taxing. It is not easy. This issue is hard, y'all. And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to close out the month long of the business of psychotherapy practice for the Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast. And I just was like, let's just do a transparency moment. Talk about the journey, my journey. You may connect with some of it. You may have had some of the same thoughts or similar thoughts and processes and situations on your journey, or maybe this can be used for those who are starting their private practice, psychotherapy private practice journey. Some things for you to look out for and to be aware of. So like I said, this is a very transparent moment for me to talk about, but I think it's relevant. My journey hasn't been an easy journey, and it's going to continue to have challenges because that's just the world of business. That's just the world we live in. But you have to have some type of internal resources and some resiliency to weather the storms that come with psychotherapy private practice, whether it's traditional psychotherapy, where you are seeing individual clients, families, groups in your private practice, or if you are branching out to be a consultant, a trainer, a speaker. Every aspect of psychotherapy practice has its ups and downs. You may want to, branch out. You may get fed up. There have been times I absolutely love what I do. I think that I am gifted in what I do as a psychotherapist and all of the derivative things that come from it. I was chosen for this field. This is not a field that I chose for myself. So I was chosen for this field and I fought against it. That has been some of the hardship in my journey of psychotherapy practice because I really didn't want to be in this field. I was chosen, I was called, and I answered that calling to be in this field. So, like I said, psychotherapy, private practice journey is not easy. And at some point, the water may feel like it's rising. What are you going to do? Especially if you can't swim. So what you want may appear clear and attainable, but also take into consideration that storms come during this journey. Your storm may look different from someone else's, but a storm will surely come. It may not be a heavy storm. It may not be a destructive storm, but it's just the journey of psychotherapy practice. What you have on the inside of you to carry you through, you have to think about that. One of my all-time favorite movies is Imitation of Life. I like the Lana Turner version. Right? Her tenacity and her drive to make things happen in an industry that said she was past her prime. So they was pretty much saying she wasn't supposed to be in that industry and she was not going to be successful. And she boldly stated that I will never stop. I am going to keep going up and up and up. And I'm going to tell you, this is an all-time favorite movie in my family. From the youngest kids to the adults, absolutely love this movie. And we love watching it together. right? And so, but that stuck with me. And I've been watching this movie since I was like a teenager, but I will never stop. I'm going to keep going up and up and up. And I just don't think that I have given up in me. I don't think that that's a part of me. Even when I try to give up, when I want to give up, after a day or two is like, yeah, get your butt back to work. Let's make it happen. But I take those moments to rest and I try. And it's like, no, you have to keep going. Right. And I think about this semester that I just finished in my PhD program. I did not like the class. It wasn't the professor. It was the topic. It was a social psychology and economics class. And it was dealing with a lot of real issues. Every assignment, every discussion, every written assignment was around real issues that was going on like in society today with the riots, with the killings, with COVID-19. I mean, it was an exhausting class and I wanted to do the bare minimum. I was like, all I need is a B- and I'm okay with it. And I was actually disappointed because I thought that I was doing the bare minimum. And when I got my grade, it was a 97.23. That's not a B-. So sometimes you want to give up, but you have this internal source that even when you think you're giving up, you're really not. So, but don't stop. If this is for you and you know it and you want it, be like Lana Turner and boldly state, I will never stop. I'm going to keep going up and up and up. But if you ever watch that movie, and I'm just going to tell you, even from my experience in going up and up and up and up, there were some downs and there were some turnarounds. So it resonated with me. I think that as an adult, because I watched this movie even as an adult, right? And it always comes on TV around Mother's Day. So in May, you may find it on one of those apps or on TV. But I think it resonates for me because I'm that little Black girl who society counted out and said I'm not supposed to be doing the things that I'm doing today. I'm also often counted out in a field that I love so much, and that's play therapy. I'm often counted out in the play therapy field, but it's okay because that's why I created my own lane. And people say, bring your own table. I didn't just bring my own table. I built the building so I can put my gifts on display, but also offer a platform for other mental health professionals who love play therapy, who offer a lot to the field of play therapy, but not given an opportunity to speak or train about their knowledge and show their skills. So you may be wondering why, I'm just doing this because, or wondering why I am the Black girl who is where I'm not supposed to be, because I grew up in a household where I just witnessed domestic violence and there was alcoholism. I was psychologically and emotionally abused, and I became selectively mute. And as a result, I was put in special education. I was bullied at school and in my neighborhood during my elementary school years. I really believe that I grabbed hold of my resilience around the 7th grade when I began playing sports, right? Sports was my outlet. It was a temporary outlet for me every day that kept me out of a dysfunctional home life. So when I got to high school, I went from season to season and I lettered in every season except for softball. Child, that was something else. But anyway, I went from season to season because sports was my outlet. I hate running, but I ran track. I ran cross country. I ran indoor track. I ran outdoor track. because I was expected, if I did this, I wasn't expected to be home right after school. And then when I turned 16, I got a job. So after practice, I would go to work. By the time I got home, I was too exhausted to do anything other than my homework, eat, bathe, and go to bed. Start over again the next day, right? So I was called stupid and dumb at home and in school. I was told that I wouldn't amount to anything for the better part of my childhood and well into my teen years. But I now have an undergrad degree in business management, an MBA in marketing, dual social work degrees, macro and micro social work, and I'm almost finished my PhD in business psychology consulting. I have had a successful private practice. Even with the ups and downs, my practice has still been sustainable and successful since 2011. And I've added so many other things to private practice. That's why I keep saying psychotherapy private practice doesn't have to necessarily be traditional psychotherapy. I have conferences, I do live events, I do workshops, I do consulting, so you can design your private practice the way you want it. I have a training institute. I have a play therapy academy. So you can decide what you define your private practice. It's not what someone else says. It's what you say your private practice is. So when I say that I'm the little Black girl who is where I'm not supposed to be, according to society, that's an understatement. That's an understatement because of all that I have accomplished and I will continue to accomplish because, again, like Lana Turner, I'm going to keep going up and up and up, no matter how many times I get knocked down or get turned around. And you may be wondering what this has to do with business. But I just want to be transparent with you about my journey because it may help you in your journey. It may help you make some connections to, what's going on in your private psychotherapy practice journey, or it can help you become aware of things that you need to look out for. So, but what it has to do with business is if I'm not careful, my trauma can rear its ugly head and wreak havoc in my business, as it has done several times in the last 9 years that I've been an entrepreneur. Now, I am not going to tell you that private practice journey is always on the upswing. Not at all. Not at all. Even if you take insurance, it is not on the upswing all the time. Just like a roller coaster, your schedule may go up and down, backwards, and even have some loops and turnarounds. Your client caseload can depend on the time of year. Most therapists' slow season is during holidays. That's my busiest season. My slowest season was during the summer, during the summer months, because parents would say, you know what? Well, school is out and I don't need to bring my child to therapy because I can manage this at home. My biggest concern is at school, but there's other things that's connected to those behaviors that are being seen in school. So, but I can't control whether or not parents would continue to bring their children to mental health treatment during the summer break. So I had to shift the way that I ran my practice from June to September. I took the opportunity to take a break for myself. I stopped seeing clients after 3 p.m. So 2 p.m. would be my last appointment during the summer. And that enabled me to increase my social calendar. And I'm an introvert, so how much increasing in my social calendar do you think I did? But I did start hanging out with friends and going to events. I swear I didn't realize how much I was missing out on working every evening until 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., depending on the day. But that was something that I had decided to do because I did not want children and teens to have to miss school or leave school to get the mental health treatment that they needed. So that's how I designed my practice. But even when I changed and shifted and started hanging out and increasing my social calendar, that derailed my business goals and my education goals because I wasn't connected to the right people. But that's a whole nother other podcast. But I wasn't connected to the right people. So I experienced some derailment. Your connections matter, right? Your connections matter. I decided to increase my income, I decided to become a consultant for community-based mental health programs like the intensive in-home and therapeutic day treatment programs. I did some private practice consultation. I did some clinical supervision. I accepted short-term employee assistance program clients, and I did critical incident responses. So this gave me steady income during the summer months, but it also allowed me to create, the type of summer breaks that I wanted for myself. And so the pressure of being an entrepreneur can sometimes feel unnatural, and it can add additional pressure that you put on yourself that can become so overwhelming. One of the huge blunders I made was not putting together an appropriate team. So my trauma had me thinking in my past messages, right? Because the messages that we hear, once you ring a bell, you can't unring that bell, right? So the messages that I heard would come up into my practice in how I ran my practice. So I never expected my practice to be a success. I expected it to fail. So I was surprised that it didn't fail, even when I was complicit in not putting the appropriate processes and people in place. But I never expected my practice to be successful. I never expected it to be successful, even with seeing out the gate how, I never lacked clients, whether it was private pay or it was insurance. And I still do, but I don't see that many clients now. But I had a diverse practice, ethnic practice. So it wasn't just one race. I had a diverse practice. I never, lacked clients in my practice. That wasn't the problem in my practice. The problem in my practice was my mindset. The problem in my practice was my emotions, were my emotions. Sometimes my emotions ran my practice when I was triggered and I didn't put the appropriate processes in place for myself or for my business. So again, like my practice, having clients was never an issue. Bringing in income was never an issue. My blunder was my mindset. I didn't have an appropriate team in place because I expected it to fail. I didn't even celebrate my practice or being a full-time entrepreneur until 5 years in. And even then, I didn't even recognize that I had been in business for 5 years. It was one of my friends who was like, "What are you going to do to celebrate your 5-year anniversary?" Like, what 5-year anniversary? You started your practice 5 years ago in November? Like, oh, okay. And even then, I didn't celebrate me. I celebrated my clients and thanked them for being, the best part of 5 years. And I had my whole office decorated. I had snacks throughout the whole week in the waiting room, all boxed up, but it was kind of like a buffet type thing. Take what you want, take to your family, your kids, your siblings, whatever. I celebrated my clients. I didn't celebrate me. Still a part of my mindset problem, right? I ran my business like it was a hobby because I was waiting for it to fail. And I didn't realize how important my business was until I almost lost it. And I almost lost it because of poor business practices and no processes in place. I racked up a lot of debt because I didn't have an accountant. The person that was doing my personal taxes was still doing my business taxes, right? I didn't have an accountant. So more money started going out than that was coming in because I decided to decrease my client caseload, but continue to expand and grow my practice by investing in myself, personal development, professional development, investing in my business. I have a top of the line play therapy practice, right? With all of the bells and whistles of electronics. I have it set up. I have I don't know, my AV guy, I call it my DJ booth, because I have whatever that board is called that you use for music and sound and radio shows, because it's set up. I don't even use it now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm doing this. I do my podcast from my therapy office, and I have a whole office on the other side of my practice that has the board and mics and cameras and all of that stuff in there. But it also has a two-way mirror for me to be able to do different types of play therapy sessions, to monitor how parents interact with their children, allow me to monitor how supervisees interact with clients, and all of that stuff. So I have a top of the line, just about state of the art, but I got a lot of bells and whistles in here. Right. And I was spending money on all of this, but I stopped seeing clients. So I wasn't seeing a lot of clients. So to be honest, my business operations was just purely trash. It was trash. I ain't gonna lie. This is a transparency moment. My business operations were trash. I sometimes wondered when my business would crumble. And to be honest, since I'm being transparent, at some point I got lazy and arrogant, especially when I started making like over $100,000 working 3.5 days a week. And that was income just from my contracts. That wasn't even insurance or self-pay clients, because I had decreased them, but I had major contracts and I only had to work 3.5 days a week. So I got lazy and arrogant even once I put processes in place. So this has just been a journey, right? But my practice, ironically, has never been lacked for me to be able to make money, right? And that's why I say that once you get your clinical license, you can set yourself up to make as much or as little money as you want. But I'm the type of person I want to work. I've been working since I was 14 years old in the DC summer youth program that rolled over to working during school and after school programs, and then working in community businesses. So I got to the point where I wanted a break, and I was able to, set myself up to get that break, but I didn't have the appropriate processes in place. So again, it was about mindset. It was about trauma. All of those things came into play in my business. I was the reason. More so my mindset was what made the running of my business hard work. No team, doubled my work. I saw clients. Actually, it probably tripled my work. I saw clients, did my own scheduling, did my own billing, made my own personal and business travel arrangements. Yeah, one time I was supposed to speak at a conference in Charlotte. I thought I had tickets, plane tickets. Come to find out I didn't. So I had to drive. And on my way back, a deer, hit my car coming through the backwoods and stuff, trying to get back to Virginia, because that's the way my GPS took me. But had I had someone to make my travel arrangements, I would have had plane tickets, right? So it was more so my mindset, not the lack of clients or opportunities. It was me, my mindset. And a lot of it was my trauma that came up, because sometimes I was like, you don't deserve this. Why do you have and no one else have? Why is it not hard for you, like a major difficulty for others? Like, I don't know. But I just know that that's how it was for me. And so my trauma started rearing its ugly head. Supposed to be here. That imposter syndrome. Oh, that's another podcast related to business too. Like, all of that stuff played a part in me almost losing my business and making me realize that it was important to me, because I really do enjoy what I do, although I didn't want to do it. But the thought of losing it was like, whoa, this is important to you. So then I had to go through, why was I minimizing the importance of the work that I do when it really does mean a lot to me. There will be tests, and I'm just talking, so bear with me. There will be tests that will have you looking inside of you, and you will find a better you if you really do the work. Well, at least I know that that's what happened for me, because once I started doing the work, the personal work and the professional work, putting the appropriate things in place. And I was so undisciplined because when I got my accountant, and I remember he came to my office to pick up some paperwork. I had been working with him for a few months, and he came to my office to pick up some paperwork. And he walked in and he was like, construction. I was like, you know what? It just happened. He said, construction don't just happen, but it kind of sort of did just happen. The back space became the back part of the office space connected to my office became available. So they cut a hole in the wall and created a whole nother part, expanding my office space. So it really did kind of just happen, but I didn't run it by him. And, I wasn't used to it. And my thought was, I made this money. Who are you to tell me how to spend it? I was undisciplined. What really pissed me off was when he sat me down and said, give me your calendar. I was like, what calendar? He said, your appointment calendar. And he opened up my appointment calendar and he said, this how many clients you need to start seeing to pay for all of this construction. And then he saw my mirror, right? My two-way mirror. And then he saw my interactive whiteboard. And he said, how much did you pay for this? And I just looked at him. He said, I'm your accountant. I'm going to see it. I'm going to know how much you paid for it. So just tell me. And he started going through my calendar. And he was like, and mind you, I was only seeing clients 3.5 days a week. So he started, and I wasn't seeing more than 5 or 6 clients a day. And he started saying, you can put clients here. You can put clients here. Let me look at this day. Oh, this day is fully clear. You could put this many clients here because you need to pay for this stuff. And stop using your money that you already have in the bank without bringing in more income. He said, I don't care if you expand. I want you to expand. I don't care if you grow and start doing other things, but you have to supplement this income. You have to bring in more income. And I had a problem with that. I did it, but I was like pissed. I did it, but I was undisciplined and I was heated sitting there listening to him telling me what I was going to do. I had worked so hard to get my schedule down to 3.5 days a week because my goal from the moment I opened my practice has always been to only see 5 clients at a time and diversify my income in other areas. But I was in a building phase, like laying the foundation for branching out. So I needed to still be working. And he saw me using all of my money to expand, but not bringing in any other money. And he put a stop to that. And I had a problem. I was undisciplined. That wasn't on him. That was on me. My mindset. You see how, like, going back to mindset, your mindset will derail your business or send it to its demise if you don't have the correct mindset. But I got it together. So when I say that you will have to look inside yourself, I had to do my own work. And that's why when I work with other mental health professionals and other private practice psychotherapists, all of my business consulting with them includes looking at mindset and their emotions and how that shows up in your business. Because especially if you're seeing clients and you're an insurance-based business or you're a self-pay business, but your client come, you do your session, and then they say, oh, I don't have the money to pay you. That happens with insurance co-pays or private pay. How are you going to react to that? How are you going to respond? Are you okay? Your emotions can come up because your emotions are connected to finances. And if your finances aren't okay, and then in private practice, when you're building, you have to spend time and you still have to spend money building your private practice, whether it's part-time or full-time. You have to invest time and money into your private practice and still see clients to build your reputation and build your practice But if your emotions are out of whack because your finances, your payments not coming in the way you thought they should be coming in or when they should come in, how are you going to handle that? And does that show up when you sitting across from your clients? So that's why mindset and emotions are so important, and they're connected to you running your business. So I had to do my personal work and I had to do my professional work. And that's what I mean when I say tests will come and you will have to look inside of you. And if you do the work and you do the work appropriately and you commit to the work, you will find a better you. Personally, you will find a better you as an entrepreneurial, as a boss, as a leader. You will become more contrite. You'll find a more contrite you, a more tenacious you, a more resilient you, to help you to continue along your journey if this is what you want to do. You're going to have moments that make you think it's not, but if you truly want it and you do the work, you will find it. But in order to find you, that other you must weather those storms that comes along with being a psychotherapy private practice entrepreneur. Some days in and some days in some seasons, you may want to call it quits, or you may begin to question, is this really your path? And that's okay. Connect with your therapist, connect with your colleagues, connect with a consultant. And when I say connect with a therapist, if you're a therapist, if you're a psychotherapist and you have a problem with going to see a psychotherapist when things are not going right in your business and in your personal life, and they start to intertwine and you have a problem and you don't believe in it, I would seriously ask you to really explore whether or not this is the field, or why are you in this field when your emotions and your behaviors are wreaking havoc in your personal life and your business, and you would rather go see a life coach than a therapist. Connect with a therapist. I am a therapist with a therapist. I ain't spitting in your soup, but if you don't believe in therapy, then goodness gracious, I can only imagine how your clients, what your clients are receiving from you therapeutically if you don't believe in the very thing that you are providing to other people in their worst moments, in their bad moments, even in good moments, because therapy is not always about going to see a therapist when something is bad. It's maintenance, it's preventative, but connect. Because one of the worst things that can happen is completely losing your motivation and pursuing your why and giving up without exploring where you are and how you got there. Self-care is very important. If you don't have good self-care regimen, you're setting yourself up for burnout. Burnout can have you feeling depleted and lead to poor service delivery to your clients. So I'm about to wrap up. Like I said, I hope this has been helpful. I just wanted to do a transparency moment around business. So I hope this has been helpful for you, but this is something that I developed for myself doing my work phase. And I constantly revisit this. I developed it, or I, came up with it to tap into my own resources and not to let my trauma, and for you, it could be trauma or just your emotions, because you can have emotions without trauma. But if you think about it, something traumatic has happened to almost everybody. Doesn't have to be whatever. But to tap into my resources, this is something that I do, to not let my trauma run my business. So you don't have to let your emotions. So I'm going to share it with you, and hopefully that it's helpful for you, so you don't let your emotions or your trauma run your business. So what I do is I imagine for a moment. So imagine for a moment that whatever you wished for in your business could actually happen, or it has happened. You can take it back like it hasn't happened, or you want to diversify or expand your business, whatever it is, that it could actually happen. And write it down. The power of words, seeing written words, it helps you to commit to it, but write it down. And then think about how your emotional well-being is dependent on your business success. Emotional responses can have you feeling vulnerable, out of control, threatened, or it can threaten your business through emotional triggers. So think about your emotional well-being and that your business is dependent on it. Identify any emotions that has the greatest potential to make your business vulnerable. I lost a major contract that because of my emotions, and I knew I was triggered, but connections matter. I was connected to the wrong coach at the time. And instead of the coach advising me, and I'm not putting it all on the coach because I'm responsible for my own behaviors, but I was telling the coach how I felt with this contract, or the person, one of the people I had to deal with this contract. And at the end of the day, my emotions took over and I lost a major part of my income that went from $12,000 to $15,000 a month down to $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And I'm gonna leave that at that. Connections matter. Connecting to the right people and having the right people in your corner and in your life matters. And they have to be emotionally well and healthy in order to help you. But if all else fails, go to your therapist. That's what I had to do. Unfortunately, I made my appointment to my therapist after my emotions lost me a major part of my income. But at any rate, going back to this, identify any emotions that has the greatest potential to make your business vulnerable. Use reflection to explore the events connected to those emotions identified. It could be something like a time I felt. Identify the emotion and write how it showed up in your business. Be as descriptive as possible and include the outcome. Like my outcome was I lost a major part of my income. That's a large chunk of change. Well, it's not a chunk of change, but it's a large amount of money that I lost, anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a month for all of the services, including assessments and all of the services that I was providing under this contract. I was only able to recover $3,000 to $4,000 a month when I was making $12,000 to $15,000 a month. So include the outcome, because that outcome is important, because then you can change the narrative before the outcome actually happens. Then think about when your emotions come up and it's affecting your business. Write down this statement. I know I need to schedule a therapy appointment when, and list 3 clues that you need to see a therapist before your emotions ruin your business or before your emotions start running your business. So thank you for spending this time with me. I hope this information or this podcast has been helpful. This is your host, Althea T. Simpson, licensed clinical social worker, registered play therapist supervisor. You've been listening to an informational podcast episode around the business of psychotherapy practice connected to your emotions. I just threw that in. So until next, thank you for playing. And until next time, play well.
Chronicles of a Play Therapist is sponsored by Unicorn Life Play Therapy Academy, where play therapy is magical. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe in your favorite podcast app and follow us on YouTube. Chronicles of a Play Therapist is intellectual property of Althea T. Simpson. All rights reserved.